All right, good evening, people. Good evening. I know it's late, but I had this video already on my mind, so just went ahead and do it since it's fresh on the mind. So today's topic, I'm really gonna be just talking about what I'm gonna be using in the fall and baits that I really don't really use on a common. It's really fresh to me, like new to me. It's really lures that I really don't really use at all, and just lures that I don't add it to my arsenal. And I picked the fall season to really fish with these lures because of I wanted to get the feel for them in the fall and gain a little bit more experience with them. So first one up is going to be a crankbait. Crankbait, I have heard a lot of stories about a crankbait. I'm really fresh to fishing with a crankbait and being a crankbait fisherman. So, um, really haven't fished a crankbait really too much at all anyway. Um, I have fished them some, but not a lot. So they're still really fairly fresh to me and new to me at the same time. But crankbait is one of the baits that I know a lot of guys talk about fishing in the fall. So I want to get just more experience with fishing with a crankbait anyway. So I think the fall time it'd be a perfect time. It's just might be times in the fall when water temperature and all that stuff going to be the right um, times and situations for a crankbait. This particular crankbait is a KVD 2.5 and it's a square bill. So I know enough to know this is a shallow diving crankbait. This crankbait probably dives in between, I think it said 4 to 6 feet on the package. Comes with stock hooks anyway. So um, with this, and it's a shallow diving crankbait. So majority of the time I'm gonna be fishing it shallow, So um, really don't know where, but um, it's gonna be more of a learning curve for me. Is how. What I mean how is not how to use a crankbait because really you just chunking and winding, right? So what I mean by how is how the fish gonna react. Uh, when to really, when will a crankbait really be effective? More effective. So with this crankbait, I'm excuse me. A lot of guys, I know it's guys in Florida. Oh, excuse me. I know it's guys in Florida that use crankbaits. Um, it's just I don't really hear a lot of guys talking about using them. So, I just want to get outside my norm and uh, try something new and gain some experience on crankbait fishing. So this is one of the baits that I'm gonna be throwing this fall. You know, uh, is I think it's one of the best times for me to learn to use a crankbait is in the fall because now I know a lot of fish is going to be chasing bait fish. So um, imitating bait fish is probably the key thing here. Well, anywhere around this time of the year because the fish are usually feeding on bait fish anyway. So crankbait will be one of the baits that I'm gonna be using this fall a little bit more anyway, a little bit more than I usually use them. So like I said, this is another bait that another lure that I really don't have a lot of experience with. So I know it's just like chunking and winding and all that other stuff, but it's more to it than just that. So I'm going through a learning curve. I'm going down the depth of learning, you know, the using a crankbait that works for me. And this is a shallow diving crankbait, and I think it'll work for me. when I'm in shallow, of course, in shallow water, um, because that's what it's designed to do, is to fish in shallow areas of the lake. So, um, what's that? Some mosquito in here. So I'll get that later. There's some mosquito flying around here. Crazy. But anyway, this is a bait that I'm gonna be using this fall. And um, I know it's a lot of vegetation in lakes, in Florida lakes anyway. So I'm not gonna usually I'm not gonna, throw this bait anywhere I know that's it's not gonna be fishable. I'm gonna look for a fishable area before I even use it. But I picked up the crankbait first because it's like I said, it's a bait that I really want to learn how to use. Like they said, everybody gonna be, oh, you just throw it out there, you just cast it out and wind it in. But it's like I said, it's more to it than just casting it out and reeling it back in. So crankbait is brand new to me. Now, a more common bait that's used is also brand new to me too is elliptis. What I mean brand new is like I rarely took time out to even use them. You know, uh, I have used them in the past, but I really didn't like them, so I stopped using them. So since I'm going down a learning curve about just the bill crankbait, I'm gonna also go with crankbait without a bill. You know, a rattle trap is what they call it. Lipless crankbait without a lip, so it's a lipless crankbait. So this, I know you can fish around vegetation. You know, it's it's more effective around vegetation than this. This is more fishing around grass. So this is another one that I'm playing with, and the jerk bait is another one that I'm playing with. This particular jerk bait has 3 treble hooks. Most jerk baits only have one in the back and one in the front. This one here has 3. Um, with that, I'm not really going to fish this guy around any too much, not too much of grass or too much of anything else. But I fish around in open water. Now it was kind of like common to me, uncommon to me to see a jerk bait with a third hook on it. But uh, I haven't used this one, but this one here is a part of my fall. Sorry, is a part of my fall fishing as well. And um, it's another bait that I rarely fish. I don't really use jerk baits that much myself, but this is one that I'm gonna use. Um, I have a couple more that I've been teetering and playing with a little bit during the summertime, just to, get the feel of it. Just like any other kind of jerk, like just like working the fluke. So it's nothing that like I can't use. It's just a bait that I don't really use at all. So um, I'm gonna fish. I'm gonna use this. This is another one of my fall baits I'm gonna use. Top water. You know, outside of a frog, this is about the only kind of top water I ever used. Um, I know the popper is one. Uh, it's another one that I'm playing with. The buzz bait is another one that I'm playing with outside of this one. The other walking bait I used was a zero spook, but this is the KVD Sexy Dog, and I like this walking bait. I have 2 of them. Um, I added this to my fall collection, and I also added the walking bait to another technique that I want to put more time into. Okay. Um, this one here is a throwback. This is a real throwback. Everybody know how to use a spinnerbait, but another bait, a lure that I rarely use. Spinnerbait way before my time. A lot of people throw these spinnerbaits. A lot of people don't even use them no more. So I'm one of the guys that are using them because I didn't use them back then when they was popular. Cause I didn't like them for some reason. I just didn't like them because I felt like the fish you couldn't really, catch a fish on them. A lot of the times, the fish will hit the blade and miss the whole hook. So they weren't really that consistent with me as far as fishing. But since I've been using the spinnerbait, probably about uh, a year ago, I like no, but yeah, a year ago, I've been using them for going on 2 years now. And what made me want to use a spinnerbait is one day I threw one of these guys up in some heavy vegetation. I thought I was going to lose it. I was like, well, that's the reason why I don't use them. But I threw this guy out in some heavy vegetation and pulled him out. And as soon as I pulled that spinnerbait out and it flooded back down, I caught my PB, not trying to catch it. Honestly, I was not trying to catch it. That was purely luck. But I caught it on the spinnerbait. When I pulled it out, the lilies, and it fell right in front. That 8-pounder came from up under there and straight blast that spinnerbait. And I had the time of my life. So since then, I've been working with the spinnerbait. I've been using it more in the summer than I had used it any other time. Spring, I really didn't do too much fishing. I had a whole lot of stuff. I kind of missed like the spring period, so I had a lot of things going on. So springtime wasn't a good time for me to fish. I was mainly working a lot, so I didn't really have time to fish in the spring. Summertime came around. I got some time to fish during the summer, and I made sure that I always took the spinnerbait with me because that 8-pound bass I caught during the summertime. It wasn't this particular spinnerbait what I caught the fish on, but I mean, particularly it wasn't this color. It was I had the shad, the white skirted one. Um, when I caught that 8-pound bass, but since I've been fishing them this past summer, I kind of like the willow leaf blades. I know they don't really give off a lot of vibration. It's more flash. But the area I was fishing in, um, that flash was, what drew, I guess, what caught that bass' attention. And it just came on and engulfed that thing. Um, and so the spinnerbait has been like uh, one of the baits that was new but old to me. Okay, because I really didn't like them because they had too much on it, like all this stuff. You know, you know, I'm gonna catch the fish. It got all this to get in his mouth. All this have to go in that fish's mouth before it get to the hook. So, like I said, it just a bait that I really didn't care for. But now I like them. You know, and I noticed that you can fish a spinnerbait around anything: docks, wood, grass, shallow, deep, fast, slow. You can fish it any kind of way. It works in a lot of situations. Works on overcast days. Works on bluebird sky days. It works in wind. works when the water's real choppy. It works. It just works a lot more than I thought it would, and it catches fish more than I thought it would. So I like the spinning bait. Now I added that to the arsenal, and like I said, I spent more time fishing the spinning bait this summer than I did anything else, like worms, because worms is basic. Worm fishing is real basic. You gonna throw it out there, swim it or drag it. You know, basically that's all you do with a worm. It ain't really no technique, really. Like, you know what I mean by technique. It's not really. I don't know. It's just basic. It's just easy to fish a worm because you either gonna drag it or pull it, or hop it, or swim it. Whatever you choose to do with it. Um, that's what worm fishing is just that simple. Um, it's just different ways you can use it. You can put it on a drop shot, or you can put it on a shaky head, you can put it on a Ned rig, all that stuff. So um, fishing a worm is like real easy to me. I've been fishing worms since I started bass fishing. That's been years ago when I started fishing. Learned how to bass fish, and the plastic worm was like one of the first lures I learned how to fish with. So, Texas rig is basically the only technique I really knew. And I ain't gonna say I'm a master at it. It's just a technique that I'm confident with, I'm comfortable with, and it's just easier for me to catch fish with. So I'm just getting outside my comfort zone. I want to break away from just throwing the Texas rig everywhere I go when I go fishing. So because I know um, fish, it's more ways to catch a fish than on a worm. And the worms are just successful to me. I mean, I still use them. I'm not gonna stop using them. It's just that I want to learn more about other lures than I do with Fawz's worms. Um, like with jigs, I don't really throw a lot of jigs either. Um, that's another. That's matter of fact. Uh, my jig box camera on top of my phone. 'Cause I'm actually doing this video off my phone. My phone is on top of my jig box, but jigs are another thing, lure that I'm playing with. Chatter baits, um, a swim jig, things outside of my norm because I'm usually fishing with swim jigs, not swim jigs, but swim baits. Any kind of swimming worm or something like that, something real easy, something real simple. I really don't really make my fishing complicated, but I really want to learn how to get more in tune on throwing and using different lures, you know, to just open more doors for me for fishing. It won't get bored to me. And we was talking about fall. These are like one of my go-to fall baits. Open it up, and this bait. I want to do this. I want to do this video while it's still fresh. So these, this bait here, I use a lot when I'm fishing in the fall. This is about the only thing I'll throw outside of a worm. So a fluke was like my bait, my choice of bait when fishing in the fall. Um, it was just a bait that I knew I had confidence in. I still have tons of confidence in it. Just today, I blasted fish on this same fluke right here. Well, this is a new one, but this color, I blasted them on this color right here. Last year, I blasted them on this same color. So in the fall, the only time I really don't use a flute is during the summertime. Um, I don't know why they don't really seem like they be. It's I don't. They don't be really like productive like in the fall. Like to do like in the fall, a fish will gobble up flute up real quick. Summertime, they really don't take to the flute. Not saying they won't. It's just that I don't use them in the summertime. So just like the rest of these lures, the flute is something I'm gonna use this summer. When summer rolls back around again, I'm gonna be using the flute. Fall time, fall time is a believer. I mean, I straight blasted fish on this color. This is the albino. I blasted fish on this color today. I mean, the fish I caught, it wasn't nothing over. I ain't catch nothing over 2 pounds, you know. So it was really the small fish, but I blasted them. There was like pound, pound and a half, none over two. You know, basically everything under two. Everything under two, none over two. But I had a blast today with this. But uh, during the fall time, this was my go-to bait. It would have been a fluke for a long time. Zoom super fluke for a long time for me. Uh, Another, and this is a worm, soft plastic worm. If I'm using a worm in the fall, it's gonna be one of these. A Senko, and this is the Berkeley. Uh, right here, probably can see it. It's the green pumpkin candy red. Yeah, green pumpkin candy red. The Senko is about the only worm that I use in the fall time. You know, so that's why I added call it max scent for a reason. Um, this you know this is the only worm that I use during the fall because I can do a lot with that one style of worm. You know, I got plenty of Senkos. I got a whole lot of Senkos. You know, I can do a lot with them. You know, I can shake a head. I can put them on a drop shot. I can fish them weedless. Fish them like a fluke. I can drag it on the bottom. I can put a 1/8 to a 1/16 ounce bullet weight on there. Fish it like that. You know, it's a lot of things. Wacky rig them. So there's a lot of things I can do with that Cinco. I have them in all different colors. I got this green pumpkin candy. I got regular green pumpkin. I got June bug. I got black and blue. I got watermelon red. Watermelon. Um, there's some other colors that I have them in too, but mainly green pumpkin, black and blue, June bug, and watermelon red are the colors that I really use in the Senko. And uh, with Senko worm, I use them a lot, you know, a whole lot. Another worm I use in the fall is Zoom trick worm, which I didn't take. I should have took them out. A Zoom trick worm too is like a worm that I use in the fall. See, those are all the things that I used to use in the fall growing up, and I just stuck with it. But Cinco was not when I grew up from a child. You know, Cinco's came out when I was an adult, more of a teenager, and I first pack I think it was a Strike King, and I've been using Cinco Star Runners ever since then. Um, but before then it was just a Zoom trick worm. So um, those are like the baits, the worms that I grew up fishing with in the fall time. Now the other baits I had just showed the other 5 baits I had shown. Um, I never really paid attention to. I never thought about fishing them because I was like, man, I live in Florida. I can't use them type of lures. It's too many hooks, treble hooks. Well, I'm gonna fish this with the treble hooks on it. It's gonna get hung up on everything. So um, it's just one of my style of bait lure, to use to fish with. For one, I was like, man, I fish around a lot of vegetation, and that ain't gonna work for me. But I have caught fish on a crankbait, not this crankbait, but my other one I got I have on my rod right now. Ever since then, I really like, man, you know what? I'm gonna get into the crankbait fishing. I think crankbait fishing is gonna be a new curve for me to learn. So I got into it. I got a little deeper into it. Went on YouTube, looked at a couple guys, videos, took some tips, learned, listened to what they was saying. As far as rods go, uh, I like the graphite composite rods more than the glass and fiberglass rods. So I think the graphite composite rods are a combination of both. So I like those rods better than I do just a straight fiberglass or a straight glass rod. Um, it's just lighter to me. They durable. I mean, they just better than me. So I have a lot of graphite composite rods in the closet. I just have them in different actions. Um, so I learned that, and then I learned that fishing crankbaits or any kind of bait with treble hooks. So outside of this, it's better on the fast because I keep them pent too. Because usually when they hit a top water, you're gonna have them pent. But baits like this and this and this treble hook baits, moderate action. I learned that a moderate action rod keep those fish bent. And with a crankbait, you really don't have to set the hook. I had to learn that too. You don't really set the hook on a crankbait. You know, you really just pull set into a crankbait, like pull into the fish. And with that rod being, because moderate action is gonna bend. It's gonna stay bent. So that's a plus when you're fishing for a crankbait. Well, fishing with not for it, but with a crankbait. That moderate action gonna keep that bend in that rod, that bow in there, so it's gonna keep that fish pent. So I don't even have to really use a hook set. Same thing with a jerk bait. I don't really set the hook with a jerk bait. When they hit that jerk bait, I just pull into them. Same thing with this. Knocked everything over. Same thing with I just pull into them. Only time I really set a hook is when I'm using the top water. You know, something like this right here. So if I'm using the top water, I usually set the hook, but I really don't set it that hard. And I use this on a fast action. I can use it on a moderate, but I don't, like I said, but I like it on a fast action rod. It's more suitable for me on a fast action rod. Same thing with a spinnerbait. I can throw a spinnerbait on a moderate or either a fast action rod. Really don't matter. So, like I said, those baits is learning curves for me. And as far as fall, um, as far as sticking with my norms, these are like the normal baits for me fishing in the fall. Excuse me. these and a couple more other baits that I use in the fall. Really getting outside my norm. I use a lot of creature bait, cross style baits in the fall and stuff like that. You know, swim baits in the fall. So, um, really just trying to just mix it up. Gain some different experience. Going down a learning curve or learning hole on fish different types of baits in different times of the year. Cause like I'm not here to try to tell you like, oh, you can't throw a crankbait because you live here. Or you can't throw a jerk bait. That ain't what it is. Guys really don't do that, but it's just like you know, it's like a guy from Florida. Really, I'm just speaking for myself. Me being from Florida, and I watch these guys YouTube channels, and I'm like, I want to try a lot of those baits that them guys throwing, but I'm like, can I do it in Florida? That's what got me sprung on a crankbait. You know, um, can I throw a crankbait in Florida? Is it a way I can fish a crankbait without getting it all hung up in bushes or dragging the bottom of the lake out or putting up the bottom of the lake or again this so stuck in grass I can't even get it out. And it's a way, and it's a way, and I learned, and I had to figure it out. So I'm like, okay, it's a diving bait. So it's a bait that when you cast it out and you reel it, it's gonna dive to the depth, the design depth that it's designed to dive to. So if I'm fishing this crankbait and it's a shallow diving crankbait, so I'm usually gonna be fishing in the depth of water that it's gonna dive to. Okay, so but it could be an area that it's gonna dive too deep and it's gonna get hung up in the grass or whatever down there, right? Most likely grass. So what I learned is throwing it on heavier line, it'll keep that bait up in the water column. It won't get down to its max depth. You know, it won't die. It won't be able to get down to 4 feet, 6 feet, whatever the max depth is. I think this is 4 to 6 feet. So if I put it on like 15, 17 pound uh, mono, it's not gonna dive. It ain't. It wanna dive, but it's not gonna get down or get all caught up in the grass. It's not gonna pull the bottom of the lake out if I put it on mono. If I put it on fluorocarbon, then yeah, because fluorocarbon sinks, then it probably will dig up. I don't know. I haven't tried it, but I don't want a line that's going to sink. That makes sense in a situation like that. This is a shallow diving bait. So if I put fluorocarbon on it, it's going to sink. With mono, it's going to sink, but not as fast as this fluorocarbon, right? If I put a 17-pound mono on a running on 17-pound mono, that 17-pound mono is not going to sink like that 17-pound fluorocarbon. So it'll keep that bait up off the bottom a little bit, just enough for it won't get stuck down and digging at the bottom of the lake, and I'm pulling everything off the bottom of the lake other than the fish. So that's what I learned with that. But that is just like really learning the transitions of the fish because I really never really paid attention to that. Right, I knew about summer, spring, fall, but I never really followed the necessary steps summer, spring, fall, where the fish, where they gonna transition to, or where the fish gonna move to, or where they gonna um, hold up at, or where they gonna be at, or they gonna be shallow, or they gonna go out deep, or they gonna stay in mid depth, or whatever the case may be. I really never followed that during any time of the season. So this is something that uh, I'm learning. So I want to learn. Um, I'm getting stuck on words. Exhausted, man. I can't even think. So that's just what I'm going to learn. And these baits are gonna be the ones that I'm gonna be throwing. I think I'm camera shy, but anyway, these are the baits that I'm gonna be throwing. You know, all of these baits, lipless, the crankbait, the top water, jerk bait, spinner bait. Those are the baits that I'm gonna be throwing this fall for me. And the only reason I'm throwing all those baits right there because, like I said, I want to get outside the circle a little bit and, you know, experiment with something new. It's new to me, you know. Um, Getting lost for words, man. I don't think I'm camera shy for real. So it's new to me. Anything that's new, you really want to put time into it and learn it, right? So that's what I'm really doing with these baits. It's just gonna put time into it, learn it. It's gonna be some mistakes made. That's just part of life. You're gonna make mistakes here and there, and I don't want on whatever you do in life. It's everything. Ain't not gonna be perfect. Ain't not gonna come right to you. So it's just gonna be. It's gonna take time, and and it's just gonna take time to learn. And that's the thing about these baits is just it's gonna be a learning process for me. I won't get bored with it. It just open them up, opening those for me again, allow me to really dig and get in tune into throwing uh, other baits and lures and stuff like that. And just like I got like rod Pacific, like it's on a certain rod, it's on a run rod that I'm gonna throw a crankbait on. That's gonna be a moderate action. It don't matter if it's a 710, it's gonna be a moderate action rod. Um, Gear ratio, I teeter with too. Depend on if I want this bait to move fast or if I want to slow roll it. Now, summertime, oh, excuse me, I'm usually gonna throw it on a little slower gear ratio. Something like a 6.2 or a 6.3, something like that. That's when I really use it more on a slower gear ratio during the summertime. Um, During the fall time, I using at least a 7.5. Gear ratio real, and I got a 6.6, so at the same time, I kind of play around with gear ratios, and that's why I like the bait casters too. Bait casters was another learning curve for me to learn how to use them, how to set them up, how to dial everything in, all of that. You know, so just like the bait casters, the crankbaits, jerk baits, lipless, stuff like that. I'm gonna have to play with. I'm gonna have to fish more, with them to learn them, right? So the same way I had to learn how to use bait caster, the same way I got to learn how to use these baits as well. So um, I'm just excited, just very excited, and I know I have to get out on the water a lot more than I do, but when I can, I will. Um, and it'll be like, I don't know. I'm just, let me get it together. I don't know why I'm nervous. When I get out there on the water and I use these baits, I'm just gonna fish with confidence. Confidence is the only thing you can have in life. Like with me right now, I'm like, I don't know why I don't know how to talk because I think I'm camera shy. And I know I'm recording myself, and I don't know what's going on with me. But everything is a learning process, like I said. So once I get used to talking to a camera or into a microphone, looking at myself, then I'll be more comfortable with it. But just to get outside the norm, because this, like I said, these are like some of the normals that I use in the fall time. And it's kind of soft plastic uh, bait I use in the fall because I had a lot of confidence. I have a lot of confidence in those baits, and they have caught me fish over the years. So I just, like I said, I just stuck with the norm. But now I'm getting outside the norm, and I want to fish, learn how to fish with different baits, not learn necessarily learn how to fish, but just using different baits. But the top water thing, I was always a frog man. Frog has been the thing for me since I don't know when. Um, Now that they have like design frog rods, is that's different because a long time ago they didn't have no design frog rod. Uh, Basically a spinner rod, a, a spinning reel, and a spinner rod was the only thing I ever used, and I throw with everything on it, no matter what it was. Um, Now that they have bait casters, um, I throw a little bit more. I fish a little bit more different now. I kind of like do a lot of my power fishing with bait casters, like using heavier line and stuff like that. With my spinning gear, I usually use lighter line. It's more of a finesse technique for me, and that's just something I just put together. You know, just by learning to use spinning rods all my life. I just put it together. Like I don't really use a lot of heavy line on spinning rods anyway. The heaviest I use on a spinning rod is 12-pound test. If I use anything heavier than that, then it's like braid. But um, braid is probably, yeah. If I use anything heavy on the spinning rod, it's gonna be braid. Yeah, it's gonna be braid. So um, that just makes sense to me. Um, I don't know why I'm so nervous on this camera, and I want to put this on YouTube. Oh man! But anyway, I don't know. I just hope this. I'm just doing it. I'm just doing the video, and I'm nervous. I don't know why I'm nervous. The only reason I think I'm nervous because I'm sitting up here looking at myself, talking to myself on my phone, doing the video, and this is something I want to put on YouTube. I'm just stumbling and bumbling, forget what I want to say and everything. It's just everything. Nervous. So learning. I gotta learn how to be more communicative. Communicate better. Make more content as far as with my YouTube channel. Uh, be more creative. I guess be more outspoken. Speak with more detail and things like that. So I'm learning. So is fishing is like something I love to do. So it's just something I think is easier for me to talk about. By chance, I don't have all the necessary, like I don't have the experience, you can say. far as on the professional level, but I have enough experience to where I can have a conversation. I can talk about it. You know, so um, I might not. I don't know everything about fishing because I think fishing is one of those um, topics that you can't, or one of those sports you really can't know everything about. Now you can have a whole lot more experience uh, when it comes to it, knowledge and all that, but knowing everything about fishing, that's just not possible. Guys that are older than me probably learning new things about fishing that opening their eyes because there's always something new. Fishing is something that's very creative. So that's why I say you can't really know everything about fishing because it always gonna be something new that's coming out, like BFS, bait finesse. You know, I ain't never, I don't, I haven't tried it. I want to. That's another thing I want to get into too is the BFS thing. So, I love to have, you know, nice BFS setup to go with my spinning gear. It just make fishing more funner. Um, Everything that's coming, like anything that's new, you know, it's exciting. I ain't fishing on no high level anyway, so it really don't matter to me. But uh, I do take it serious, but it's not my perfection. You know, uh, it's not how I make a living. It's something like that right there. Um, it's just more of a hobby that I take serious. It's like it's it's a hobby, but it is something I learned from a child. I've been doing it since a child, and it's just something that grew on to me, and I grew into it. So, um, as far as bad fishing is more complicated to explain because you have a lot of guys that do this for a career. You have a lot of guys that this is their bread and butter. This is how they pay their bills. This is how they take care of their families and stuff like that. So bass fishing is very competitive and it's very knowledgeable at the same time. So it's a different style of fishing. If that makes sense. It's not like you can go out there, sit on the lake with some worms, and catch some bluegills. You know, it's not that easy if you look at it, but it is that easy if you really pay attention to it. Because same way you go dig up some worms and catch some bluegills, you can go throw a cast net, catch some shiners, and catch bass the same way. It's just fishing with the artificial baits. It's more of learning. It's more of a skill. It's more of a technique. Um, it's more exciting and it's fun. It's not. You know, like I said, like you just send out the looking at a barb or a cork go down. You know, it's not. It's a different style of fishing, but it's fun. If you really get into it, it can be fun. Um, I'm into it because I have tons of rods. I have a lot of tackle. If you look in my closet, you'll probably think I'm a pro, but I'm not. You'll see all this, you know, boxes of tackle. I got boxes of man. I got a whole lot of a lot. I have a lot of stuff when it comes to fishing. I mean, you'll look and think, oh man, this man either professional thinking you going pro or think about going pro. I ain't thinking about none of that. It's just my passion. It's what I do. If I do anything, I'd rather sit down and, talk about it, you know, uh, teach somebody how to fish, which is a million videos out there that's teaching people how to fish. There's a million videos out there talking about the same things I'm talking about right now. So, it's a ton of information out there on fishing. You know, it ain't like it's just one guy. It's millions of guys doing this stuff now. And to me, fishing is grown. It's grown a lot. It's just took off. I think when COVID came around, people was, you had to stay away from around people, isolated from around people you love, people you know, friends, family, and all that stuff. I think a lot of people just got into fishing, and fishing just took off from there. Because when I grew up, it wasn't that popular. If you fished, you fished. If you didn't, you didn't. But COVID hit, it's just like the whole world just turned. Everybody just started fishing all over the planet. So it has grown. It's grown into a popular sport. Fishing now is not even a hobby no more. People take it serious. Fishing now is in schools. I mean, you got high schools that got high school fishing teams. They ain't had none of that when I grew up. I wish they did. You got colleges now that have fishing programs. You get scholarships and stuff. From high school to college to go to be a professional fisherman. They ain't had none of that when I was in school. I wish they did around that time. So fishing has grown a lot. It's grown a lot. I mean, it's becoming one of the popular sports like football and basketball and baseball now. So I mean, it's been around for a long time. Been around longer than me, along with a whole lot of other people too. So I mean, sport just done took off. It's just another level. A lot of guys make the YouTube channels. They do it from the heart. They do it serious. They do it for a reason. Me, I do it to share. I love it. Love talking about it. And I don't mind talking about it. I don't mind sharing and talking about fishing. Like I said, I don't know everything, but I know some things. And it's something that is is good for the soul. It's good for the mind. You know, go out there and get away. Um, feel like being in nature is a place. It's the thing to do, man. It can turn a bad week into an awesome week. Just get out there on the water, forget about everything else. You just go out there and fish. And when you start catching fish, you be like, yeah, yeah, but it's gonna be days when you don't catch fish, and then you're gonna be like, man, what happened? That's when you start getting more into it and more into it because you want to dig deeper. You know what happened? You know, well they ain't biting this, but where they go for this? You know what I'm saying? They ain't biting the crankbait, but let me try a chatterbait. Oh, they ain't hitting the chatterbait. Let me try a spinnerbait. They ain't hitting the spinnerbait. Let me go back to the crankbait. You get three fish on the crankbait. Then all of a sudden, the crankbait bite is dead. Now you got to think. You have to adjust. You have to, like I said, it's just an adjustment thing. It keeps the mind going, but at the same time, you learning and you having fun. And it just, like I said, it's just one of the things that a hobby that's really grown into a lifestyle. And a lot of guys been doing it for a lifestyle for a long, long, long time. A lot of those guys are retired and they doing other things with now. So me, it was something I did from childhood. You know, more to put the fish we caught, we ate. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna even lie. You bit that hook. You was going in the bucket. You weren't going back in the lake. You was going in the bucket to the house in some grease. Didn't care what kind of fish you was. If you was edible, you was getting ate. Bass and all. So now, you know, it's different for me. I don't eat bass. You know, a more catch and release. Because when I got taught or shown how to fish, my uncle taught me or showed me that you catch these fish and release them. That's what he taught me. Him, he catch them and put them in his, excuse me, put them in the bucket. But I had to let mine go, which was all right because that made it fun. You know, he go out there and catch them 2 or 3 good sized fish. They going in the bucket. Every fish I caught, I had to throw back. So it was all right. Every fish I caught, I had to release. It's okay, you know. So, uh, and that's what stuck with me. It stuck with me once I got back into bass fishing. Now, I had not been into bass fishing for a time, long time, long time since I ain't thought about fishing for a bass. When I fished, it was usually for catfish, bluegills, or crappie, which are specs here in Orlando. But it was a time in my life when I really didn't have time to fish. You know, there was other things going on with me other than fishing. I felt like I had other things to do other than go sit on the lake and waste, get dirty all burned up. The only time I really fished when I was young, teenage years, is when one of my homeboys or family or somebody, a family member or my uncle wanted to go fishing. I was on the time. So now, you know, I don't really fish for bluegills and catfish and all that other fish no more. I mainly bass fish, but um, just fishing in general. It just feels good to go back to my roots, where I started from. I loved it from a child, and I got away from it for a long time ago. And life just took me down a different hole to where fishing just brought me back. Once I got back into the world, you know what I'm talking about. Once I got back into the world, it just everything changed. I was older, got a little bit more wiser, a whole lot wiser, and a whole lot slower too. So I got back into bass fishing, and right now I've been doing it for hmm, 10 years. So nah, I ain't gonna say 10 years. I'm gonna say, well, yeah, got back into it, but about 10 years, but more like serious about it in the last uh 3 4 years. So it was just something I like to do. And once I started catching fish, man, it was just a turn on. I had to do it. I gotta go. I mean, I had to buy every new rod reel I seen. And that right there, I'm not doing that no more because I don't fill half of my closet up, man, with rods, reels. And it's like I'm not fishing tournaments. I got 30 rods in my closet. So a lot of them I just started using. A lot of them reels, rods, and stuff brand new. Ain't got no. If they got line on it, they ain't using it. But a lot of them they ain't have line on. They was just sitting in the closet. I had so many that it was just like I don't know. I went fish crazy, I guess. And uh, yeah. So yeah, I found my way back, and it's fun. You know, it's fun. And sometimes I go, oh man, what if I would have what if I would have put more time into it? What if I got tired of all them what ifs? You know, what if what? You know, it ain't promised to me that I would have went pro. It ain't guaranteed that I would have went pro. You know what I'm saying? You got to pay to get there. So it wasn't like a career for me. You know what I'm saying? I ain't see it like that. So I ain't even want to think like that. I went down that road one time before, like, oh man, I wish I would have stayed with it. I could have been pro. I could have been, nah, because if I could have been, I would have been. So it just, I can't even say it's a hobby no more. You know, it's a passion. It's it's a passion. You know, it's just something I love to do. And I put time to it. In it, what? Excuse me, I'm sorry, y'all. Oh, okay. So yeah, it's getting late. Uh, I know I ain't actually talking to y'all, but you know it's really getting late, and this video I know really got off a little off got off topic a little bit, but I got tired of being all nervous and jittery and stuff like that, so I had to just take my mind off on the subject. The topic that I was really making this video for was fishing in the fall for me. The baits that I'm gonna use during this fall season. Um, as I explained, I already shown the baits that I'm gonna be using. Uh, I think the only reason I kind of struggle with trying to make videos because I think I'll be trying to be too much in detail or try to be too dialed in and getting a lot of detail when I really don't know myself. So I'm just gonna be honest. Okay. I'm only gonna talk about what I'm only gonna talk about the baits that I want to use, and hopefully that these baits will be productive for me this fall. Um, I'm looking forward to having a good year this year as far as fishing for me goes. I'm hoping to put out more videos and really get in tune more with the YouTube thing and go out on the water. And when I do go fishing, take my GoPro with me and record and stuff like that, which I did a video today. But I got to do, some editing and stuff like that to that. So as soon as I get that up and running, and put that on YouTube, it's uh, put it on YouTube. Hope y'all guys like it or not. Hope y'all guys view it. I do have a channel. You know, like I say, I'm not a pro. I'm just a normal guy. Works a 9 to 5. Love to fish. I have a YouTube channel. Called Busting the Bank, Bad Fishing with Terrence Leonard, which is me. You know, subscribe, thumbs up. You know, show me some love, and I'm just sharing with y'all guys. Uh, like I said, these are the baits that I'm playing with this fall. Ow, ooh, sharp hooks. So these are the baits that I'm playing with. Let's talk about this bait right here. Let's talk about this bait. This is the KVD Sexy Dog. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people out there don't use this bait a whole lot more than I have. Ton, nobody more than I do. But you know, every fisherman have their own experience with baits. So, the Sexy Dog, by KVD, I like it. I think to me, in my opinion, is like one of the best walking baits out there. My opinion. Okay. So I'm not sponsoring nothing, not sponsoring him, not sponsoring none of these lures I've shown companies or nothing like that. But hands down, in my opinion, my opinion, this is one of the top walking baits out there on the market. Um, my opinion, like I said. So I like them. I like this style. Because when you actually working this bait, walking the dog with it, you know, when you stop it, this bait go position itself back where you can start back walking the dog. And every time you stop and pause, it's gonna come back to it, set up, and you can go back walking it again. And with this, and I like it like that too when it floats back in position too. Because to me, it just sits there, in that water, right, and it stays in the strike zone a little longer than most. My opinion for what with this bait, this the only walking bait I use. So you know, with that, it just allows me to stand out that strike zone a little longer, a little more time to get a fish time enough to really come check it out. So when it reposition itself, where you can go back, walking it again, twitching it again. Once you stop that, it'll turn right back. Then you start walking the dog again. So uh, once you like with me, uh, I think I started using this. Uh, how many years back ago? Not that I ain't gonna go back to childhood, but I think I started using this bait back in 2015, 2015, 2016. I'd say 2016 when I got I started using this walking bait. This same the KVD. Um, yeah, KVD was the first, not this one. I lost that one, but I've been using this bait since 2016. And when I first bought it, I ain't know what to do with it. Ain't nobody come tell me how to work this bait, how to walk the dog, how to get it moving across the water. I had to figure that out on my own. You know what I did when I first bought one of these? I cast it out and I reeled it back in. Cast it out, reel it back in. I said, I don't think this is how this supposed to go. This is top water. I don't think it's supposed to go like that. So once I start twitching my rod tip and it start moving from side to side, I'm like, oh, that's how you operate this bait. But when I first learned how to use it was just going to one side. And I'm like, what's the problem? So when I stopped twitching in my rod tip, it'll just turn back. Then I start walking and it'll walk like it's supposed to. You know, you get that walking action. It's gonna go from side to side. When you get that walking action correct, it's a killer bait. It's a killer bait. So it works. It works good. To me, it works better on braid because I throw it on mono now, but with braid, it works good with braid too. Because braid doesn't sink. Mono tends to want to sink a little bit, but it ain't gonna sink to where the bait. Oh, excuse me. Regardless, the line want to sink, the bait gonna stay on top. But with braid, it'll stay like you can walk it a little better on braid than mono. But I use it on both. I use it on mono and I use it on braid. So with me, it's just like I just get more faster twitches because braid doesn't have stretch. So I get more action. Like if I really want to work it real fast, I can get more walking action out of it than I do with braid. I can get more walking action out of it with braid than I do with mono. Mono has stretch. So that means you have slack in your line. Braid really don't have no stretch, so it don't have no slack. So sometimes that little that slackness in the line can be uh, can be a downer for most, but for me it's an upper. Man, well, you know, it can be a negative or a positive. You can put it like that. So it can be a good or a bad thing. So um, for me, it's more of a good thing because I think in certain situations you might need some stretch. Now, if I was throwing this on braid, oh, dang it, oh, my wife gonna kill me. Wife gonna kill me, y'all. I got stuck in her tablecloth. She's oh, she don't see that. But anyway, but I was saying about braid, the mono, but the mono it has stretch. So with mono, I'm gonna fish this more on a fast action rod. Braid, on the other hand, I'm gonna fish more on a moderate action rod. Okay, that's just me. What I learned is when I'm fishing with mono, I don't need a lot of bend in the rod tip, you know, with a walking bait, when I'm fishing with mono. Because the bend in the line stretch, I lost fish like that, right? So after I got tired of losing fish, I started throwing it on a fast action rod with mono. What I learned is with that fast action, I'm not getting a lot of rod bend because I have a lot of stretch. So that stretch is helping me, right? So it keeps that fish pent, right? Now, with braid, on the other hand, I'm using a moderate action rod. Braid has no stretch. So I lose less fish when I use a walking bait on a fast action rod on mono, right? If I was to use mono on a moderate action rod, I lost, I lose more fish. So what I learned is when I when I'm using braid, if I want to throw this on braid, I'm gonna throw it more on a moderate action. The braid has no stretch. Don't ask me. It's just something that I learned. You know why? It's just something that I learned. I learned that with braid, with moderate action on a walking bait, because braid doesn't have no stretch. That moderate action, that flexibility in that tip keeps this bait pent in the fish, right? So on mono, with the moderate action, with that extra bend and that extra stretch, a lot of the times you just you know pull that fish off